Everyone looks fabulous. Let me put myself on mute.
All right, yes. You're all looking good. I can see you now, all of you. Gallery mode. Screen, if you're not familiar with it yet, if you never used Zoom before. So there's a chat function at the bottom. People should be putting messages in the chat box throughout. And let's go, Joseph. Let the people in. Let the people in. Yes, yes, yes. Hello, everybody, and good afternoon to you all. This is EVN Goes Live session 7, believe it or not. So this means, because we missed 1 week, so that means that we've now been on lockdown for 8 weeks. And thank you once again for everyone that's been logging in week by week. Thanks for joining us. Thanks to our special guest speakers who are joining us today too. And we're switching it up a little bit today. It's still a similar format, but we now have 2 venue specialists on board, as well as a caterer who's kind of a venue specialist himself, and as well as Matty Gono, who's a wedding planner, but she knows quite a bit about what's going on out there in the event world and in venue land. So I'm just going to introduce all of them. We just got a few people coming on. Thank you everyone for joining us today. I can see so many names in the chat. Just for everyone joining us, please remember this, to keep your microphone muted. Our team here is going to make sure that you're muted anyway, but it's good to just make sure that your microphone's off throughout the session. So please, everyone, your microphone's going to be muted, and I know some of your cameras are off, but please join me in welcoming our guest speakers to the stage. I'm going to introduce them one by one. Just do a little round of applause wherever you are, in your houses, in your gardens, or in your cars right now. First of all, could you help me welcome Lola Rokosu to the stage, joining us on EVN Goes Live session 7 today. Next, Suleman Raza from Sapphire. Thank you very much. Next, Nigel Ogunniyi from Favour, Catering and Events. For those of you that's got your camera on, I can see you clapping. Thank you. And last but not least, we have Miss Matty Gono from Matty Gono Events. Please welcome her to the stage right now. And for the next 90 minutes, we are going to have some really interesting conversations and information being shared on this platform. So, if you got a pen and paper, feel free to take notes. There's a chat box at the bottom of the screen if you want to say any comments or put your questions in. And, we're going to try and make this as interactive as possible and still try and finish on time at 3:30. So here we are. As I said before, we are on week number 8 of this lockdown, and I'm just going to get straight into it, because this week has been quite a crazy week. If you've been watching the news, you've been watching TV, you've been listening to the radio and social media, this week has probably been one of the most confusing weeks that we've had probably since like February or March. No one knows exactly what to do and what not to do. A friend of mine today said she's going to see her family, and I'm guessing that's going to be happening more and more now. People are going to start slowly but surely getting a bit back out there as lockdown is being lifted and the rules are being relaxed. But to each of you, I just wanted to know, what does the lockdown, what did the Prime Minister's speech actually mean to you? Yeah, because we would just like to know what your thoughts on it are. And can we have Lola first on that question, please?
Hello, everyone. So I think in answer to that question, first of all, it was a very confusing speech. I don't know if you've seen the memes. It was like, yeah, it was really confusing. But I think hospitality will be one of the last sectors to return anyway. And the thought of doing larger events doesn't really seem possible, at least until the last quarter of the year. I think the whole focus on social distancing doesn't really work for the events industry. So I think they're trying to coin a new term, which is physical distancing, because social distancing is at the heart, social activity is at the heart of what we do. So we still want to stay social, but we also need to obey any legislation around keeping distance. However that will work. I personally don't know how it's going to work. I think it's going to be a bit of a disaster, but we're just going to have to wait and see. And I'm hoping that the Prime Minister, that Boris will give us a bit more clarification, because as it stands, there's not really much at the moment, I think.
Thank you so much for that, Lola. Next, Suleman, let's get your thoughts on what the Prime Minister's speech on Sunday meant to you. And once everyone's answered this question, actually, I am actually going to go back to a little introduction for each of you guys after this.
Yes, thank you so much for having me, Dean. I think we're all hoping and praying that the Boris Johnson speech would help us probably look into the future. But like Lola said, it was very confusing. It was very dubious speech. And without going very political on this particular point, I think the government is facing its own challenges, and probably the hospitality sector is their least priority at this stage. And I think they're looking to cover so many other areas. Probably the health is their priority. There are so many areas they're looking at. So I think that the hospitality industry is going to be the last one which will get eased off. But then at the same time, this sector has been worstly affected, and there are so many people connected to it. The wedding industry especially generates over £10 billion worth of business in the UK, and that's how much it contributes. So probably the government has to take some measure in the near future to bring this back on, and possibly bring this whole wedding industry back into the business.
Thank you very much, Suleman. Next, Mr. Nigel, what did the speech mean to you and also your business? Nigel, you're muted. You just have to turn on your microphone.
Yes, thank you very much for having us as a company, Dean, and EVN. The Prime Minister's speech we waited for on Sunday, as Suleman and Lola said, was confusing. But it's the Prime Minister that we voted for, so we'll just have to grin and bear it. But my understanding of it is the fact that we will need to stagger the lockdown, the ease of the lockdown. So it means that we're going back into the society in segments. So they've identified what industries they think are the most important and of priority. And the hospitality industry, as we know, isn't their priority. So we will be the last to go back in the next couple of weeks. And as Lola said, I don't see us for a long time to come. We're hoping that it's sooner rather than later, but we'll see what happens.
Okay, thank you so much, Nigel. Next, Miss Matty Gono. The Prime Minister's speech on Sunday, what did it mean to you?
Afternoon, everyone. I thought that the speech was interesting, quite ambiguous, but to be honest, under the circumstances, I wasn't expecting much. And obviously, just like Nigel, you know, kind of mentioned, staggering the lockdown was something that, you know, I think was always going to happen. The interesting thing for me was the timeline that he gave. So, and it was helpful that he actually mentioned hospitality, because we are kind of, you know, at the bottom of the food chain when it comes to, you know, all this social distancing, because of the industry we're in, knowing that it is something that they're thinking of was also nice to hear. So them saying kind of opening up hospitality mid-July was quite hopeful to some degree. And it was also reassuring to know that, do you know what, they are thinking about it. So that's what I took from there. But another thing I took from there was also being quite glad that the weddings that we have around that region, that we've also like moved them, postponed them to a later date. So, you know, that's what it kind of meant to me and for my business, but still very wishy-washy, but you know, it is what it is.
Thank you so much, Matty. Guys, yes, I have to admit, first, you know, week 8, staying in my house like this, lockdown, this is really, I think it's really getting to me now. It's throwing me off guard, throwing me off the ball a bit as well. So we're gonna go actually do the introductions that we had planned before. So first of all, we are gonna introduce properly Lola Rokosu, so she can actually say a bit more about who she is and, you know, kind of why she's even kind of on this panel today. So Lola, go for it. And we got Joseph sharing her video at the same time while she's gonna speak as well. Let's see. All right, here we go. So this is one of the venues that Lola's worked at in the past.
Joseph,
Which
do you
is
mind?
the HMS Belfast. Joseph, if you could just start it again, please. All right, perfect. And you can turn it up a bit, Joseph, as well.
I don't think the sound's working on the phone. That's okay though.
No, it's not working. It's not working.
Okay, it's all right. I can literally talk about it. I think it will be easier.
Yes.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, go for it.
Okay, so hi everyone, my name's Lola. So I've worked in the hospitality industry for years and years now, and throughout my career I've worked at different venues. I'm not sure if you were able to see the video, but that was just the showcase that I did at HMS Belfast. So it's a really unique venue on the water in the Thames. So there was a lot of corporate events at that particular venue. And it was just very unique. And because it was unique, it attracted quite a lot of different attention. People wanted to have summer parties and conferences on board the ship. So it was a really interesting time when I was working there. In my current role at the moment, I look after a collection of livery venues, and they're quite high end because livery wasn't really, you couldn't really access livery venues back in the day. It's only now that they've opened up their doors to everyone else. So it's been quite an interesting time when people who may not have heard of these type of venues come. Great for weddings, because as you can imagine, they're quite high profile, lots of grandeur, really, really beautiful venues. And that's what a lot of brides look for. So yeah, it's really been an exciting time over the years, just putting on events, meeting clients. And yeah, I've really enjoyed it. And I don't know what the future holds, especially in the current climate, but you know, I'm here for it to see what will happen. So yeah.
Thank you so much for that, Lola. Next, Mr. Suleman Raza. Please say a little bit more about yourself, you know, who you are and your company, please.
Yes, I think the video probably hasn't got a sound, so I'll continue with it. So my name is Suleman Raza. I am the CEO of the Grand Sapphire Hotel and Banqueting. Obviously, I've been in the food industry for over 16 years. Being a restaurateur and foodpreneur, I understand how much difference good food makes to the weddings. At the same time, Grand Sapphire, we started it 4 years ago. It was an industrial state building, run down completely. So we turned it around, make it one of the most stunning venues in London. We recently won the Best Wedding Venue Award at the London Venue Awards in Hurlingham Club, which was one of the biggest recognition we've got, because we were competing against some of the finest venues such as 101 Pall Mall and Natural History Museum. We've won a number of other awards. This year we won Best Newcomer Wedding Business of the Year award as well. The good thing about the venue is that the flexibility we offer, because of various rooms we have various capacity rooms. We can accommodate from 1,000 to 100 people, and all the rooms have got their own signature features, which attracts quite a high-end clients. And we have been very, very fortunate to be very popular with Afro-Caribbean clients. In fact, 30% of our clientele is from Afro-Caribbean background, and we just continue creating the lasting memories and beautiful events, and we love what we do.
Thank you so much, Suleman. And next, Nigel. Please say a bit more about yourself and your company, please.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Nigel Ogunniyi. I am the Sales and Marketing Director of a catering company called Favour Catering and Events. We specialize in African and Caribbean cuisine and are accredited caterers to 8 hotel groups, including the Grand Sapphire. We are based in Hendon, Northwest London. We've been in existence for 20 years. We have our own kitchen and office in Hendon in Northwest London, and that's where we operate from. Thank you for having me on board.
Thank you very much, Nigel. And next, Matty. Please say a little bit more about who you are and your company too, please.
Brilliant. My name is Matty Gono. I run a company called Matty Gono Events, previously known as Just As Planned. Started doing events, weddings in 2007, and have literally been doing weddings ever since. Got a small team, very committed, dedicated team. Our main kind of market is the Afro-Caribbean market, and I've had the pleasure of working with Nigel and with Suleman as well at his awesome, amazing venue. So that's a bit about myself. I think you guys have a video to play also that kind of shows a bit more of Grand Sapphire, kind of displays a bit of the work that we do.
Yeah, that's coming right up with Joseph. Give it a couple minutes. But yes, I was also working with you on that style shoot too, and yeah, it was a beautiful space. I've worked with Grand Sapphire several times, and it's a really brilliant venue, and we can't wait to get back out there and really do what we do best.
Yeah.
Because although we do love these Zoom calls, you know, it's not exactly what kind of floats our boat. Like, we really want to get back out there and do the work that we love to do. All right, I think we're having 1 or 2 technicals today, so we're going to play that video again a bit later, but we're going to we'll move on for now, and we'll come back to that video in a bit. Yeah.
All right, brilliant.
So guys, yeah, we are here in it's mid-May. 2020, and everyone is asking, you know, like with all the conversations I'm having are like, you know, what are we gonna do? Obviously, for the people that the I guess the coronavirus hasn't really affected badly, they've said that, you know, they've enjoyed the break, they've enjoyed this lockdown, but what we really want to do is get back out there. We want to get back to what we know as our regular lives. But we know that nearly everything that involves our regular lives means socializing with other people, including doing events, obviously. So if we are going to get back out there soon, and we hope it is soon, what measures do you guys think that the government or even venues, and I'm going to put this towards Suleman and Lola first, are going to put in place so that not only guests, but also suppliers can operate in a safe way to kind of be social, but still, I guess, kind of socially distanced? Suleman, Lola, then Nigel, Matty, please.
Yes, thank you, Dean. I guess we're one of the worst affectees of this pandemic, because not only we do wedding planning, but then we're a venue ultimately, and because of the lockdown situation, you know, our business is completely shut down. So before getting into the lockdown, as the news started coming out, we already started taking the measures, certain measures, to ensure that we keep our employees and our clients' safety our utmost priority. So we started carrying out disinfections and all around the public places within the venue. We initiated a training program for all the employees related to our guest services, including the management, the chefs, the porters, the event managers, to learn about how we can reduce the risk of growing this pandemic within our venue. And training programs were created, and all of this was regularly monitored, with manual logs being monitored throughout the day. And at the same time, since the lockdown, obviously all the staff has been furloughed, and there's not much going on, but then we're waiting for the government instructions to move forward once we look into opening it back up again.
Thank you very, very much. And Lola, I know you obviously have been getting quite a bit of information about how we expect venues to open up, whether it's with 10, 20, 50, 100 people. How do you think we are going to be able to get back out there?
I think Suleman made some really great points in terms of getting staff on board and, you know, looking after venue and all of those sort of things. I think from my perspective, I look after 7 venues, and they are all within the City of London. So that's right in the financial district. And as you can imagine, to have a venue within that area, there are a lot of different expenses. There's a lot of different running costs. And from a venue's perspective, if you're going to put on events, they need to generate a certain amount of revenue to be viable. My concern about the industry is that if they put social distancing elements in place, that would mean that events may be smaller in size, that a lot of the events that we put on for our clients may no longer be possible. You know, clients could decide, look, you know what, we're going to do it on Zoom, or we're going to find another way to communicate with our staff or our clients or our partners. You know, so there's going to be a big change in terms of the sort of events that we put on, especially in the early days. And I'm concerned that if there is going to be a decrease in events, and if events are going to be smaller, then the revenue generated from those events are going to be so low that a lot of companies may not be able to continue working. They won't be able to keep the lights on effectively. So I'm hoping that there will be a way that we would still be able to do events, and, you know, slightly, when I say larger events, I'm talking about, say, 50 people. It doesn't have to be thousands, but I think that you know, from a venue's perspective, if you're having events that are below 50 people, there's not really that much revenue that can be made for that. And therefore, I don't think it's enough to keep the lights on. So I'm really kind of concerned at how that will affect the industry, what, you know, the Prime Minister thinks about that, because they don't really, he hasn't drilled down into the details of it. And it's already, even if you think about it from a common sense perspective, it's not practical. So we're just gonna have to see what happens, I think.
Yes, indeed. Okay, next, Nigel. Obviously, you don't necessarily run a venue, but your business is very much, I guess, you know, your income is quite directly, I guess, affected by the number of guests in the room. How do you see yourself, similar to, you know, relating to what Lola just said about, you know, it's not going to be worth, I guess, you won't be able to keep the lights on, it won't be worth running events, I guess, if they are too small. What's your thoughts on that?
It's obvious that there's going to be a big impact to the economy and to caterers like ourselves. We, as a company, we specialize in fairly large events. With our last two events being of 1,000 people, 550 people each. What we've done is we've changed strategy. We will have less people at these functions because that's what's going to happen. People are apprehensive of coming out to and not want to get infected. So if venues like Lola's venues will please keep the light on, I think what would happen is there'll be a financial impact passed on to the clients when it comes to holding events. So ordinarily, an event of 50 people will cost slightly more in these new times than they have been in the past. So we've adapted ourselves. We're now flexible. Our minimum orders were 100 people. We've changed that now because we know with social and physical distancing, you'll need a football stadium to take a lot of people. You've got to have more people. So as a company, we've become flexible, and we would now do smaller events. They cost more, but we will still be able to have those events.
Okay, all right, thank you, Nigel. And now to yourself, Matty. Obviously, you speak to many venues as well. You told me how many vendors, venues, and clients you've been speaking to on a weekly basis. Yeah, it seems like your phone is really, really ringing. Like, what are you saying to your clients right now? And what are the venues saying to you about what their plans are to do going forward?
So I've had a few key conversations with venues that we have work in the pipeline with, and they're nearing towards reducing the capacity in terms of guest numbers. So for example, I'll give you an actual example. So a wedding of, this venue holds 180 guests. The couple wanted 160 guests to attend. The venue are saying, you know, based on what they're reading and what they're nearing towards, if the wedding is going to go ahead this side of this year, that couple will have to reduce their numbers, and this may be done based on a few factors. So one of the factors may be if the pandemic is still, you know, people are still getting ill and things like that, they're looking at grouping guests with families. So one family would sit on one table. Like, I've heard all sorts this week. So yeah, grouping one family on one table, or on a 6 foot table, having people having 6 people on that table, and if it's a 5 foot table and you're having 5 people on that table. I've heard all sorts of things. Venues also saying, in terms of the number of vendors, and this was the interesting one, when it comes to a catering perspective, that guests won't go to the bar to go and get their drinks. It will be table service, which to a certain degree means having enough staff to do that table service, and also not having buffet queues where people are standing up and lining up for their food. So I've heard like so many things in the last in the last 5 days since Boris's speech. I think the main thing that will be affected is definitely the numbers. How much that they reduce, I actually don't know. I don't even think the venues know, because depending on how your venue is shaped or the flow of things, you know, having an attendant at the toilet was another thing, making sure that one person goes in, one person goes out, like loads of different variations. But I think in terms of us as vendors, it is for us to be kind of vigilant at this time, keep our ear to the ground, and equip ourselves. Suleman said that, you know, doing staff training and things like that. I think venues are going to require a level of training or some sort of certification that you have had some sort of online tutorial to deal with COVID in terms of delivering the service that you provide. Just like venues require caterers to have, some of them require common sense compliance, we might be required to do some sort of training to deal with social distancing measures or something of that sort. Those are also conversations that I have had.
Okay, thank you, Matty. All right, so to Suleman, I see that you want to contribute then. I've got a question for you anyway. So back to what Lola said, and this is just quite a direct question. Like realistically, your venue can hold up to 1,000 people. As I said, I've been there, it's massive. You know, you've got big banqueting spaces, you've got rooms. Like, are you realistically going to be able to keep the lights on? Like, how is a venue of your size going to be able to survive during this time? And then to everyone else after, with what Matty just said, does this mean, like, with all the considerations that we have to now think of as industry professionals, does this mean that all of our prices have to go up? Do we have to pass on all of these costs to our clients? Because how are we going to operate in these new ways while keeping the prices down? So first to Suleman, and then I'll go to Lola.
So I guess every business has got a different structure to how they operate. And unfortunately, as a venue, we've got a lot of outgoings committed to our business already, where already the effects of coronavirus has been that we have got employees isolated, income disappeared, and there's a lot of challenges. This is a difficult time for us we're going through. One thing which Lola mentioned earlier about venues looking to reduce the capacity. The good thing is that the Grand Sapphire has got various rooms, so it's not just for 1,000 people. We have got smaller rooms, so we can accommodate 100 guests, 50 guests, 200, 300, lead it up all the way to 1,000. But then again, I think what Lola said earlier about keeping the lights on, yes, it's going to be very difficult for us keeping the lights on if the numbers go down. And already because we've got a lot of bookings in the diary for year 2020, as well as in the month of March and April, we had a lot of cancellations. This is bringing a huge impact on our business. But again, we're hoping that probably the 2020, before 2020 arrived, there was a lot of speculation that this is probably going to be the busiest year for some reason, but then probably this seems to be not the year, and whoever has planned the wedding probably it's the time for them to start looking for 2021 or maybe later part of the 2020. But I think coming back to the question about keeping the lights on and sustaining through this difficult time is a question mark. We are monitoring the situation very closely. We are reassuring our clients that we're here, we're not going anywhere, and we're asking them to postpone their event. And there are requests coming in to reduce the numbers at this stage, but a lot of them is based on uncertainty because no one knows whether and when they'll be even able to have an event with less capacity.
Okay, thank you, Suleman. Yeah, something you just said there about this year was supposed to be the one. Do you know how many texts and calls I had last year? People were like, yes, 2020 is like, it was like the promised land of business and events, because lots of people wanted this year on their dates for their wedding, especially. You know, that's that 2020 that sounded amazing. You know, even, you know, as some of you know, I was supposed to be getting married last month myself. And now I'm having to move to my wedding to 2021. And all of my clients are pretty much, I don't think I've got any left for 2020 now. I think they've all moved to 2021. So, as I was asking before about costs going up, does this mean that because we basically lost all business or most business this year, and now, as I think I've asked this before on another session, but like our clients are now taking up kind of 2 dates in a way, because we've lost their 2020 date and now they are going to go to 2021 where we're going to lose another date with them in a sense. And then on top of that, we are going to have to consider all of these new social distancing rules. So do we put our prices up, Lola? Our prices are going to have to go up.
I don't think so, no. It's not sustainable, it's not feasible. You know, people are not suddenly going to come out of this pandemic millionaires or like with excess money. I think to offset the cost to the customer is a no-go, because if you do that, it's gonna prevent people from having their special day if you're considering it like a wedding. You know, the government can't tell people they can't get married. You know, people are still gonna get married. In terms of what weddings look like, you know, that's still up for debate. I think that in regards to at the moment, we have weddings that are scheduled for the last quarter of the year. We're hoping that that's still going to be okay. A lot of the brides who were brides and grooms that were supposed to have weddings this year, while we've been on quarantine, have been able to move their dates over to next year.
Sorry about this, Lola. Can we just make sure everyone's muted, please, Joseph?
So the benefit, like in my case, the benefit of having a portfolio of venues to sell is that if, for example, dates are gone, you can provide different options. And I think that flexibility, I think that brides and grooms have been a lot more flexible. They are considering having their weddings on weekdays when they weren't doing that before. And I think that there's going to be a lot of adjustment. But I think then charge people more to have their weddings, it's just not feasible. And in terms of the suppliers that we work with, unfortunately, some suppliers have gone out of business as a result. You know, it's okay to be able to say, okay, here's the venue, you know, we can do this, but then if we don't have the suppliers and everything in place, then we can't deliver a wedding to the standard that's expected. So there are so many different variables that need to be considered. I think, for example, because obviously weddings is part of what I do, there's also, it's mainly corporate events, to be fair. But what I would like to do is, I would like to do maybe more location filming, you know, doing more forums or kind of like media related bookings, because they bring in quite a lot of revenue and they don't need an audience. It's filmed at the venues and then it goes out. If we maybe target different clients, get the revenue from doing films and stuff like that, and then that will mean that we can keep the prices the same for wedding clients so that they don't suffer. I think it will be like our responsibility to try and make sure that we do everything we can in our power for it not to affect couples when they want to have their special day.
Thank you so much, Lola. And now to Nigel, because, you know, I've known Nigel for many years. He's ever the optimist, ever the positive kind of beacon or pillar. He's always got a way for us to see the best in any situation. So, Nigel, what? This 2020, I never usually say stuff like this, but 2020 is a write-off, yeah? In terms of, in terms of business, it's a write-off, yeah? 2021, how are we gonna keep our customers happy? How are we gonna keep our prices the same without shooting them up? And how are we actually going to get events to happen or work? Like, what's your thoughts on this?
Well, this is our take on this. At the start of the pandemic, we were gonna have a new price guide anyway. We're working on new recipes, new menus, and a new website. Obviously, it's only natural that you want to put your prices up, but just as Lola has reiterated in a few minutes ago, it'll be insensitive of us to do that. What the government is doing now, the government is looking good, giving out grants and loans left, right, and center. But we've all lived long enough in this country to know that we will be paying this back and more. So I would advise our fellow vendors, delay in putting up your prices, absorb the cost at the moment, because there's lots of people who are not working. I know some are earning money from home, but it'll be insensitive to put up your prices, although we know that your running costs will be more, but we know that when we bounce back, it'll be for the better. And if you think about it, year on year, most companies have been making a profit. If you don't make a profit this year, it's not so bad after all. If we look at the bigger picture, lives have been lost, people have been ill. If we manage to keep our heads above water, after 2021, then we can put the prices up. They'll be more expensive. Events will be more expensive to run. Staffing costs will go up. You'll need to prove to your fellow vendors and clients that you're, like Matty said, you're certified, you're accredited. She mentioned Common Sense Compliance, who actually have an accreditation for COVID-19. I spoke to Nikki, and Nikki said, yes, in 2 weeks' time, they're going to start working on the accreditation. Yes, events will be more expensive, but as vendors, we will need to absorb those costs, hoping that we can bounce back, and beyond 2021, we can put the prices up. But to put them up right now would be a bit insensitive. That's our take on it.
Okay, thank you for that, Nigel. And Matty, what are your thoughts?
In terms of the cost of events, I think there's going to be different, there are different variables here. If we're doing an event and, we all need to be wearing PPE, some protective equipment of some sort, then, I'm not saying as a business, absorb the cost. You know how you do your pricing structure. But for us to now just say, oh, everybody who's booking for 2021 is going to be like paying a premium because of what has happened this year, just like Nigel said, I feel like that's a little bit insensitive. Even the issue of postponing or moving dates, some vendors say, oh, okay, yeah, you can move your date. If we're available, great. And, that works. Some vendors are saying, okay, there is £150 charge for moving your date. But I think what we shouldn't do as an industry is deter people from having the events. We work in the events industry. We want them to have their events. Obviously, we want right now, I think it's all about surviving as a business before you even start thinking, let me put up my prices for next year. Let's try and get through this. But at the same time, let's not blacklist ourselves, because with some people who are putting up prices and things like that, you are literally blacklisting yourself. Some of the venues that I've spoken to in regards to there's one or two, I won't mention the names, that have a charge for the change in date, but it's because it's not within 12 months, and they've got their reasons for doing that. However, that client is now like, do you know what? I have no choice. I have to do it. Whereas other venues are saying, oh, actually, or vendors are saying, you know what? I'm not available on that date. You didn't deliver the service. You can have your money back. Have your money back, bar the refund or whatever, and you can find someone else, or we'll find you someone else. So I think it's about being reasonable, try not to deter people. You will make up, you will definitely make up the money, because people want to do events. Don't put up your prices now. You will literally shoot yourself in the foot. There's plenty vendors, trust me. And I think we have to be wise. Let's not kill our industry before we can even get it up and running again.
Thank you, Matty. And Deborah Agbale in the comments just said, well said, Matty. And she actually had a question for event planners as well, so I'm going to direct it to you. She says, how can event planners, and Lola, you can answer this, and everyone actually after, how can event planners work with vendors in a more digital way, and I guess with clients as well, to attract new business in this current climate? Yeah, so obviously, Matty, you told me that you've had a few people, sign on the dotted line with you recently.
Yeah.
So how are you attracting clients? Because some people's mailboxes are totally empty right now, and their phones are not ringing. So how can we attract new business during this time?
There's a bit of a catch-22 with that, because I would hope that you've got some sort of content that you've got stored up. We have loads of content, and I'm trying to get it all out now. And that also displays some of the vendors that I've worked with, venues that we've worked at. So my advice to wedding planners and to all of you guys, wedding professionals, Nigel said they're redoing their website, like giving it a fresh look. Give it a fresh look. Show people what you were able to do. In terms of collaborating with vendors at this time, I know it is like, you go on Instagram and you can see how many people are live. Do the Instagram lives, if you want to quote unquote collaborate with vendors at this time, whether it's a session on tips for the wedding day, tips for the planning, whatever you guys decide, there's some very creative stuff that people are coming up with at the moment. And wedding planners, reach out to your vendors, speak to them, find out what's going on with them. I speak to a lot of vendors. And it's also because, we're still moving some events as well. But find out what they're doing as well. Speak to them. I've got photographers, videographers that I've spoken to. Some photographers I'm saying, okay, any pictures with me in, please send them to me, and that type of thing. So use your media platforms to communicate, not just with your audience, but with the vendors as well. Tag people in pictures, repost, and all of that kind of stuff, because what you don't want to do is go completely silent. And again, educate yourself. If you didn't have a particular accreditation before, if it costs you £30, try and do it, add another string to your bow. If you didn't know how to edit pictures or videos before, maybe learn how to do that. I know Dean is the master of editing videos at the moment, so those are the things that I kind of suggest. But start a blog page if you want. Weddings, I'm posting, we've got weddings from 2017 that I haven't posted. I'm posting them. I still speak to those couples. They're like, wow, our anniversary is coming up. Be creative, strategic, and just make sure that you are showing that you're present. Don't go completely silent. You go completely silent, people are going to think that you've gone out of business. So you do want to keep in the minds of people, because sometimes it is kind of out of sight, out of mind. So yeah, those are my bits of advice. I hope that answers that question.
Yeah, it does. Thank you, Matty. And then to Suleman, Lola, then Nigel, how are you all giving confidence to your clients right now? How are you all saying to them, even though we had a very confusing Prime Minister speech on Sunday, even though none of us know the way forward, exactly what's going to happen, as in black and white, how can you give people confidence to still book you, to still part with their money, and to actually plan ahead with your services?
So we have various challenges, because we're a venue and at the same time a vendor providing services to the wedding industry. So first of all, we have to retain the existing clients who have paid us some sort of deposits, and they're not sure about what's going to happen next. So we're probably being in touch with each one of them, giving them the reassurance, and as well as advising them to postpone their events rather than canceling their events, because a lot of them, I think, while we talk about the wedding industry, it's very important to talk about the clients, because they are the ones who keep this wedding industry going. And I think they set aside, probably in some cases, the savings of their life to have the biggest day of their life. And then they need a lot of assurances from us during this difficult time that we're here for them and we will offer them whatever support they need in terms of postponing their event and speaking to the suppliers. In some cases, we have not only ourselves, we have spoken to some suppliers to help them and assist them in a way so that they can postpone their events. And like Mati was talking about, that we shouldn't be charging them additional for postponing the dates into year 2021. So we are currently offering them postponement of the event till any time until the end of year 2021 without any additional cost, subject to the availability. On top of that, I think this could be possibly a good thing for the couples, because this climate is not very friendly in terms of people spending so much money which they used to spend on weddings. So this possibly can help them retain those funds with them and possibly reflect and restructure how they're going to spend this money in future. Because at this time, I think holding the money is probably the best policy going on out there. And like in terms of the businesses, Jack Ma, who is the CEO of the Alibaba, said that if we can sustain through year 2020, I think that would be probably the biggest profit we can all make, rather than thinking about getting more money out of these existing customers. The other thing we're doing is that we are also posting very regularly on our pages and updates. Like Mati said, we're speaking to a lot of vendors, we're attending a lot of webinar events, and we've been very much reachable to the clients. So the clients can easily contact us via phone, via email, and we're literally responding to them because they're all panicked right now. And the uncertainty is probably not just a problem of the wedding industry, but more predominantly with the clients, because they don't know what to expect. They were planning a lot of things around the wedding. They were expecting guests coming from overseas, and all of them has been halted. So I think the best route would be to wait for the good times to come back again. And in the meantime, we are there for our clients, and we're doing whatever we can to support them and make sure that we're offering them support they need at this difficult time.
Thank you very much for that, Suleman. Next to Lola, and I think this is a good time for you to speak as well, because again, Deborah's just asked as well, okay, we're talking a lot about weddings, but what about corporates as well? I know you deal with quite a few corporate clientele, and sometimes the corporates, even though they can spend sometimes more money, it's a lot less emotional for them to make a decision about doing an event. Like obviously when you're doing a wedding, there's lots of reasons why you want to do the wedding. But as you said, when you first spoke, people can just easily cut their meetings, cut their reward ceremony, their dinners, their galas. They can move online or just not do anything at all. How are you looking at, or how's your company looking at getting more corporate business and the confidence from companies?
Okay. So with the corporate side of things, the confidence from the company, I think the problem with corporates is that everything has to be in line with policy, and every company has a different policy. And in order for their events to be viable, there are so many different stages that have to happen. So it's not necessarily reassuring them that we are going to be able to deliver a great event. They're aware that that's possible, but it depends if it's going to be in breach of any of the new regulations that they've put in place. A lot of companies have decided that with their conferences that they're going to go online, that they're going to find new ways to interact with their clients. If, for example, say they find a vaccine or something that would mean that everything can get back to normal, then they can start looking at events that are more social, such as award shows, Christmas parties, summer parties, things that will bring people together. If there is social distancing or physical distancing still applying, they'll cut those summer parties, they will cut those Christmas parties, and they will give their staff other things like maybe vouchers or wine or whatever they do, because for them they have to keep with that policy. If you're looking at private events like weddings, you know, this is, you know, like Matty said, like this is the most important day of someone's life. You know, Suleman mentioned that people have spent their life savings. You can't have a do-over with your wedding. People don't want to do their weddings online, and they want to share their special day with the people that they love. You know, when I got married, no one could tell me that I can't have my family with me, because it was so important. And I think the difficulty is that, you know, depending on the bride and groom, there may be an international element. So say, for example, you could have family that you want to bring over from Canada, America, Africa, the Caribbean. You know, usually that's not a thing. But I think now, based on social distancing, we might need to have a look at the attendees that do come to our weddings. Maybe guest lists are going to have to be smaller. And I think, like with the vendors that we work with, in order for vendors to be able to overcome this time, I think it's good for them to invest in the business, whether it's updating the website, putting together a mailing list, contacting past clients that they've had that have loved what they've, you know, have loved their services, to be champions, to say, look, I had my wedding, you know, Favour did the catering, they were amazing, and yeah, you should use them. I think that now in this downtime, it's an opportunity to really think about the strategy. And I think that even though it's awful, everything that's happened, I think that when there is difficulty, it challenges people to look for other options and come up with creative ideas. I mean, is it safe to say, Dean, that had we not been going for a pandemic, would we be having this meeting right now?
No.
Exactly. So I think that we will all need to communicate with each other one way or another. And I think whether it's bridal or it's corporate, the relevant changes will be made, and it will be what it will be. But as long as everybody's focused on what they're trying to do and how they can be the best they can be, hopefully their solutions will apply.
Yes, indeed. Okay, thank you, Lola. And now to Nigel. Obviously, I am going to ask you, how you're instilling, confidence in your clients. But we know that food is just so important for an event. It's like you can't, like, I think people think of like in the order of things for their event. It's probably usually venue then food, or food and venue. It's like venue, the food is up there, and obviously we know that to provide a great food service, you need quite a lot of people to make that happen. You need people at the back, at the front, and obviously people interacting quite a lot with customers and clients and guests. The thing with fear is that it's not a logical thing. It's like, it's very much an emotional thing, and there's not really a lot of sense to it sometimes. How can you confidently serve people food at events and without them feeling funny about it? Like, how can you give them the plate of food or get them to serve themselves without them feeling like they are going to catch a virus or catch some sort of infection?
Thank you, Dean, and trust you to ask the most difficult questions, but I will try and answer them. Yes, when people talk about food, subconsciously they're thinking about things they're not even able to tell you. So as a catering company, our route to the market has always been with accreditations. And with accreditations, you've got to prove to the authorities that you're doing things in a safe and hygienic manner. I'll give you an example. If you're buying beef for a function, it needs to be delivered in a refrigerated vehicle. It's not coming in the boot of your car. Temperatures are recorded. Staff have been trained. They'll all have their level 2 at the minimum, or level 3 certificate in hygiene and food prep. So if you can show to your clients that you have put all these systems in place, then they're more confident in buying from you. That's always been our route to the market. We've always had those things in place. And we have spent this time doing updates on our policies. In a previous conversation with Suleman, we talked about our post-COVID statements, and this was about a month ago. So he's done his, we've done ours, and the little pointers that we have. So moving forward, going to function, on Tuesday, we took delivery of 3 liters of antibacterial in jerry cans, along with 3 dispensers. So if you come to a function, we will require you to sanitize your hands. It's for your own good. The staff are required to do that anyway. We've just taken delivery of face masks as well. So if you know that your supplier or your caterer in particular has taken all the steps, then there's not much to fear. People would still be suspicious of stuff, but it won't stop them from buying food because they need food. You just need to instill confidence in them that you're doing it the right way, and the Lord helping all of us will be fine. That's my take on it.
Thank you so much for that, Nigel. And to Suleman, do you care to share what your a bit of what your post-COVID statement is, or what?
Sorry. Yes. Very similar to Nigel earlier, we have already installed a lot of hand sanitizer on all over our building, everywhere in the Grand Sapphire, especially on all entrances. Now, anybody coming to the Grand Sapphire would see all the signage in place about the COVID-19 statement, as well as the measures we have taken. On top of that, there'll be hand sanitizers available throughout the building. We're also, in some cases, our staff is interacting with the clients. So we're also asking them to wear protective masks in case that clients, just to give the reassurance to the clients that they're safe while they are within the building. We're also providing training to our staff, especially the management and anyone who interacts with the client or get in touch with the areas which are used by the clients. So all of the training provided to the staff is monitored in a log. And like Mati said, we're also in process of getting some more accreditations from CSC and the likes of CSC, so that we can further improve our hygiene and our cleaning measures, so that we give clients the confidence that while they will be visiting Grand Sapphire, their safety is our utmost priority, and also our employees are kept safe and are well trained to cope with the situation. And also, if any staff, so far we've been very fortunate that none of the staff has complained or has suffered through this problem. But if any staff in future interacts any disease or any problem such as coronavirus, they've been asked to stay at home and self-isolate themselves. And similarly, we've been keeping a very close eye when clients are coming in, because we do have a hotel as well, and we had a lot of people coming into the hotel. So we have a security in place, and we have been keeping very close eye on the customers itself. So if they have any issues or any problems, they get in touch with us, and we direct them to the right authorities and how they can move forward from there.
Thank you, Suleman. Another question for you, actually. What about with the what about the toilets? So, especially for African parties, especially, and the Caribbean party, that's mainly what the industry I work in. There's got big numbers. You're 300, 400 people sometimes. As a man, I don't usually have to really wait that long to get into the toilet. But the ladies, sometimes, with the ladies, there's usually a bit more of a queue. Are we going to see like long queues, like going around the venue to actually to get into the toilet? Like, are you going to have to minimize the numbers? Is that going to be like 1 in, 1 out, or 2 in, 2 out for the toilet?
Yes, for the Grand Sapphire Hotel, it's always been a priority to have the restroom attendants. So even prior to the COVID-19, we always had the restroom attendants, making sure we keep our toilets clean throughout the event, and there's a log which needs to be filled in every 15 minutes, displayed inside all the toilets. Yes, going forward, again, it's a catch-22, and we're waiting for more of the government instruction, because when it comes to Grand Sapphire, it's more about quantity and number of people coming in. And I don't think it'll be very nice seeing people queuing up for the toilets outside, and with our existing facilities and number of loos installed within our toilets. I think it's something we probably have to wait to see how the government instructs and how wedding industry move forward from here in terms of reducing the numbers. But then again, we are up for it, and we've got the measures in place. We've got the restroom attendants ready to do whatever it takes to keep the toilets clean and hygienic.
Thank you very much for that, Suleman. Matty, I've got a question for you. So, as a wedding planner, we all know that, you know, you guys are expected to do a lot and to know a lot. Yeah, and sometimes it might be even a bit of like kind of, I guess, unrealistic expectations, but people expect you to make the day go 100% perfectly and smoothly. With what's going on now, a lot of people are talking about contracts. We keep going back to contracts. What's in your contract? What's out of your contract and stuff like that, and what the wording is. Are you going to have to really adjust all of your terms and conditions now, all of the words in your contract? Are you going to have to make it really long and detailed and go through it like kind of line by line with each client, just to make sure that you're both on the same page and that they don't expect you to kind of solve any problems that are out of your remit, and that their expectations are managed on the day?
That's a good question. I've got a pretty good contract, which kind of states most of those things in terms of third party, etc. So I don't think I need to change anything. What we will need to do is definitely, as the government releases more information and we have a bit more clarity as to how we should be operating within the hospitality and wedding sector, then I will definitely need to update it. But you know, in regards to going through information with clients, one of the things that we already do is we highlight, like I highlight all the key points, and no one should sign anything before they have read it. The way our agreements are even sent and set up, the way it's sent to you, you already know you have to read it. Does that make sense? So they go through the key details. The other thing I would say is, as a wedding planner, you need to be educating your client on what to expect. I've always said this, and I will continue to say it, like the hardest thing usually isn't like the wedding day or putting a wedding together or working with the vendors. It's like the expectations that a client has. It's management of expectations. So that means whether you're a wedding planner, a caterer, or a venue, you need to have thorough conversations, and especially now when it comes to how this whole social distancing or physical distancing is going to work at events, you need to be saying to them, okay, let's talk about how the day is going to run. Because that's what we do anyway. Like I tell my brides and grooms, I give them pointers on what to expect. I even give them pointers because there's times when I take them out of all the business of what's going on and they need to understand why. So I do that prior. So if you were going to say to, a couple on the day of their event, they won't be able to give everybody a hug and all of that kind of stuff. You need to have that conversation prior. Otherwise, they're going to get there and they're going to be like, oh, but this is what used to happen at weddings, but this is now what's happening. So, I mean, I'm prepared to have those hard conversations because it makes a lot of things easier. But going back to the contracts, yeah, those will be updated as we get more clarity. And in terms of third-party vendors, and because we recommend a lot of vendors, all of that stuff is already covered anyway, because of how our contracts are and agreements are set up. I hope I answered the question.
Yes, you did. No, thank you, Matty. So next to you, Lola, you know, you have some of the kind of, I guess, the highest clients, you know, people that expect the best. They don't really give much room for error. So what are you guys doing to, I guess, kind of mitigate against any issues, or I guess future court cases and situations?
Situation, is that word?
I don't think that's the real word.
No, but no, I know exactly what you mean. I think, you know, the corporate side of hospitality is mainly FTSE 250 companies that have the money to pay for the training programs. They've got dedicated spend to the different events that they're going to do throughout the year. So considering we're already in May now, most of the events, everything that's been planned is already sorted out. So the focus we could say the focus would, for them at this point, would have been on 2021. Now that the events have been cancelled for the time that we've been in lockdown, they are actually spending time working out their own policy. So for example, with each of my venues, before we can have any events, there needs to be a clear contract in place. Now, sometimes with more famous companies, they want to put their own addendums in. They don't want to sign our terms and conditions. They want to make sure that they get extra things and that they're mitigated against risk. Now, before Boris Johnson gave the announcement to literally shut down, we were looking at force majeure, and it was all about, you know, is this an act of force majeure? Does that mean that they're going to get their deposits back? All that sort of thing. Now, moving forward, in order to do business with the companies that we've done business with in all this time, we will need to change our clauses. You know, I found that another thing that was a really big issue is that when we were taking deposit from clients previously, we were protecting against things like room hire and maybe not considering catering. Now, considering the events have cancelled, in terms of refunds and things, that's a huge amount of revenue. As you would know, Nigel, catering can be the most expensive element of the event. So now, moving forward, we can't continue to have contracts that just protect against room hire. We need to protect against catering and other elements. You know, we need to be able to negotiate contracts with clients to the point that they're happy to sign. We may need to edit our force majeure elements to make sure that if there are any pandemics or anything like that, that everyone is covered. Because I think a lot of people thought that they had insurance and that they were covered, and when it came to contacting the insurance company, pandemic wasn't included. But the way that they put it to you is like, oh, you're covered for everything, you know, liability, all of this. But it really comes down to the details. And I think with maybe smaller companies, they may be more lax, but with the larger companies, the devil will be in the details. Like, it's all about what the legal team have agreed, you know, bridging that gap and making sure that everyone is protected, I think.
Thank you for that, Lola. So next to Nigel. So Lola just spoke about detail, and I know with issues that have happened in the past with you know, people getting ill or sometimes even passing away after eating certain foods with certain ingredients. I know the last 5 years, the catering industry has had to get really detailed with saying what ingredients is in food, you know, giving like a vegan option, vegetarian options, etc. Are you going to have to now do something similar with the health and safety? Do you think you're going to have to really get down to detail with the clients in terms of your contracts and what you're liable for, what you're not liable for? Like, if they're going to have to be a session in your tasters even, where you sit down with the client and you go through the contract line by line, even maybe bring along their planner to say, this is exactly what we are going to do for you. This is what you need to expect, and this is what you should not expect.
Thank you very much for that question. We already have things in place. You now by law have to have your statements in place about food allergies, allergens, intolerances, and stuff like that. Every caterer, what's their salt, needs to have that. And more so now, you need to be telling your clients about this. So at Favour Catering and Events, a month ago, we asked them of any allergies, intolerances, and stuff like that. Excuse me. You'll find that they'll come to you the night before and say, we have 14 people who have allergies. That's not good enough. So in our contract, it says you need to tell us this 21 days before. So we know where they're sitting, we know exactly what they're having. We talk about the most common allergy in this country is nuts. So our kitchens are not nut-free, but in preparing food, we've got to be careful about allergies and intolerances because people can be really ill. So in the local authorities now impose that you have to have this training. Anyone who handles food has to have this training. On top of that, we now have COVID-19. So it's got to be washing of hands, sanitizing your hands, doing an accreditation for your environment and your kitchens, wearing masks to make sure that you comply. Now, the planners do a great job, and I've seen them talk to their clients about why they need to go through the contracts to make sure that what the caterer says they will do, they're actually doing. I've worked previously with Matty, and we're meant to have a function next month, I think, Matty, that's been postponed till next year. So we've already gone through the contracts to make sure that the client is happy with every single line about intolerances, allergies, allergens, and stuff like that. It's very important. It can't be overstated. I hope that's helped answer the question.
Yes, definitely. Thank you for that, Nigel. So to Matty and then to Suleman. So we've got a celebrant on this call. Her name is Jennifer Patrice, a friend of mine as well. And just in case you don't know what a celebrant is, it's similar to like an officiant, like a registrar. She basically joins people together on the holy matrimony, but it's non-religious. Anyway, I'm not going to explain what she does. She can explain what she does in the comments. But she is a celebrant, and she's saying, she's asking a question. Am I able to marry clients in an outdoor setting? So she said, I'm able to marry clients in an outdoor setting. Do you think going forward, you'll see a lot more outdoor ceremonies, maybe with the distancing of chairs, to help prevent any too much contact, basically, and to help spread any viruses?
Hiya, Jennifer, and I hope I answer this question well for you. I think in terms of weddings being outside and things like that, you know, we live in the UK, and as much as I may have brides who say that they want to have outside ceremonies, you know, it's always a little bit hit and miss. So I do think there will be a lot more of that though. But it will still kind of like be the same. So in terms of if it's 2 meters or 4 meters or whatever it will be, what is happening indoors will need to also happen outdoors as well. Will outdoors be more favourable? For some clients it will, and for some it won't, as long as the space is registered and they can actually get married in that space. So for example, Boreham House, at the front of the house, you can get married at the front of the house, but you have to be standing under a particular section of the house to get married and have that outdoor ceremony. Foyle Park, same thing, you have to be in the dome and in that particular space. So we're not just gonna find that clients are gonna be having random ceremonies in outside spaces, but as long as those spaces are registered to have them, I think, yeah, people are going to take advantage of that. I foresee next year being extremely busy. It already is. We don't just have the 2020 brides and grooms to deal with, but we also have those that were already planning. There's loads of people who were planning to get married in 2021 as well. So yes, I do think it is going to be busy outdoor wedding ceremonies and things like that. And they might work better outside as well, to be fair. It might be a bit easier. But whatever happens inside, I believe will probably have to happen in inside and outside as well.
Okay, thank you, Matty. Suleman, have you got something to contribute about that?
Yes, I think over the years we've seen a lot of young generation wants to use outdoor spaces for the weddings, and I think that has been a great change to the industry. But then again, we live in the UK, like Marty said, we rely on the weather. Majority of these outside weddings, as we have seen, are on small numbers. They're not huge numbers. And when it comes to outdoor weddings, obviously, as a Grand Sapphire venue, we don't have any such space to hold weddings outside. And then these weddings are predominantly happening in summer. So, and in winter, there's no solution. So I know summer is always more busy and busier than winter, but then we have a lot of weddings happening in winter. So we're hoping and keeping our fingers crossed that we don't get to that extent where people start reducing their numbers to a limit where we go out of business. We still want to do our business as well as offer a place of celebration to all the lovely couples and their families who look forward to it. And then our cultures are very similar. We all like to get together on a wedding day, celebrate it to the best. Couples look forward to their biggest day. So, I mean, to answer directly to the question, I think, yes, there could be slight increase in outdoor and outspace weddings, but it's not something which would continue because it would only be for limited amount of number of people.
Okay, thank you very much, Suleman. Really appreciate it. Guys, we got 10 minutes left. If anyone's got any more questions, please let us know now. We probably might get a chance to ask one or two extras. But we are gonna wrap up shortly. And can we just get your final thoughts, final words, hopefully something inspiring to leave our guests with today. No pressure, but we're gonna go in a similar order of we're gonna go Lola, then Suleman, then Nigel, then Matty as we started. And can we just get your final thoughts, anything that we haven't yet discussed on this call, and anything you think we can kind of look forward to in the future?
Okay, final words. Well, to be honest, I think we're going to bounce back. I think as an industry, we're going to bounce back. And when we do, I think that we'll be stronger than ever. I think that the time that we've had off in the hospitality industry has been a great opportunity for reflection, development, and change of direction, if that, is what has been needed. I think that because there's going to be so much interest next year in terms of corporate events and weddings, I think from a vendor perspective, there's going to be a lot more opportunity because the vendors that are always booked, always popular, they're going to have their clients, but then there's going to be a next influx of clients that are going to need support. So I think in terms of being able to grow your business, if you are not as well known as some of the top vendors, I think that 2021 will be a great opportunity because I think there's going to be so much demand. In terms of how the events landscape is going to look, we're yet to see, I'm not clear on timelines, but one thing I do know in the industry is everybody's hoping that it will be business as usual in the last quarter of this year, if that is possible. And if not, at least trying to get back to some form of normality in the new year. So I think that it's positive. I think that, people, I don't really know what to say other than that. I'm just hopeful that things will work out and we'll just have to see how it goes. But yeah, fingers crossed.
Thank you. Don't worry, Lola. It's not about getting it right now. It's just your ideas. And yeah. I guess a lot of it is just gonna come down to a bit of hoping and a bit of praying.
Absolutely, absolutely.
So don't worry too much. Suleman, some final words from you, please, sir.
Yes, finally, we're so fortunate to be part of this wonderful, exciting wedding industry. We're in this because of our extreme passion and love for it. We love it when clients call us and to inquire about their weddings or even some last minute request. it's the relationship we built with them, which is priceless. We're creating history with them when we are doing the event, even though we're in one of the toughest industry to be in, because all of us wedding vendors compromise our private social life, delivering these dreams to them, working tireless hours. I think it comes down to the relationship which we built with these clients, and we simply can't afford to let them down. There must be clients out there who are looking at us, and it's a time for us to reflect how we cope with our existing clientele, because I think it's all come down to, as we all aware, it's a digital media era, and the way we react and the way we cope with this situation is probably bring more reward to us in future. It's all about retaining these clients and making sure that we offer them the peace of mind they need at this time. I think it's the emotions, it's the responsibility, the whole buzz around the events which keeps us going. And I think none of us in this wedding industry are after quick bucks. We're here to deliver the dreams, and we would continue doing so. I think this problem is only there for a few months, and it's probably a time for us to reflect and learn how we can move forward positively. And I think 2021 will probably bring all the joy we were going through in the previous years back again.
Thank you very, very much, Suleman. And now to Nigel and then to Matty. I just want you two as well just to talk about, just touch on it. Do you think it's possible as well to grow your business during this time? Can vendors grow their business during this time while trying to kind of navigate through what's going on?
100%, or as we say in football, 110%. It's possible to grow your business in this period of time. I've spoken to more vendors that I've ever done in this period of time. 2 weeks ago, I spoke to 2 caterers I had never spoken to previously, and found that we've got things in common. If you as a vendor, you're looking to grow your business, go to someone who you think is where you think you want to go to and ask for mentorship. Take a look at what they're doing, take the positives out of what they're doing, and go make it your own. If you're a decorator, for instance, you've got a particular centerpiece, and a client comes to you wanting a centerpiece that your fellow decorator has, have an alliance with them, and then they get something from that piece of business. It's a very good time for us to get our paperwork up to scratch. It's a good time for us to update our policies. It's a good time for us to do our trainings. It's a good time for us to socialize and be with one another. I personally have never been in touch with as many people as I have been in this lockdown period. So carry on speaking to your fellow vendors, find out what they're about, see how you can do business with them, because we're stronger together. This pandemic has given us the opportunity to know one another better. It's given us an opportunity to be able to communicate with one another and grow our businesses. I have known about Lola for many years, but I've never met her, never spoken to her. Now I'm in the same Zoom meeting with her. You understand me? I'll be extending my hand of fellowship to other people so that when the time comes for us to go out and do those jobs, we're stronger. We're stronger together, because that embodies why we've got EVN. EVN's come together to. I know that if I want to have 10 photographers in one room in one day, the EVN has given us a platform to do that. So we're not competing against each other. We're competing together for the good of all. So at the end of this pandemic, I want us to have grown our networks, know where to go. We don't have all the answers to the questions, but with this kind of network, we can have all the answers to the questions.
Wow, those are some very fantastic, brilliant, and inspiring words there, Nigel. Seriously, thank you very much. And Matty, no pressure to top that whatsoever, but please, let's give us your final thought and let us know what you're thinking, what you're doing, and what you see in the future.
So in terms of what you can do, you can definitely grow your business at this time. Use social media, use the internet. It's a gift and a curse, but use it to your advantage, use it to learn. You can grow your tribe at this time. Some of you guys have loads and loads of followers and you don't speak to them. Speak to them, grow your tribe, figure out what people are actually wanting from you. Some people have realized that they have other businesses other than the business that they're doing. What I mean by that is some of you guys have followers who want to learn from you, but because you don't have that string to your bow or as one of your packages or something that you do, they're just there watching and waiting. So yeah, grow your tribe and also make your business more visible. And what I mean by that, post pictures. And there's nothing wrong with posting an old picture. Sometimes one of the strategies actually that they advise you to do on Instagram is actually to post one of your most popular pictures and see if you still get the same response from it. So do things like that to stay engaged. Just as Nigel said, reach out to people. You don't know what people are going through. Reach out to your fellow vendors, reach out to, whether it be other wedding planners, whether it be other caterers or venues. And also, I think, stay connected with the market in which you're working in. So, do your homework, do your research. And I just want to encourage everybody to be very hopeful at this time. And I know a lot of us are worried about our businesses, but the energy that you put out there is also what comes back to you. So be very mindful of that. Try and stay positive, try and be productive. Rest, spend time with your family at this time, keep your ear to the ground, attend these sessions, and you'll definitely know what's going on within the industry. So that's my 2 pence.
That was more than 2 pence, Matty. That was £1 million. Thank you very, very much. That was really good. Thank you so much. Thank you to all of our speakers today. Just a quick little roundup of what everyone just said. So Matty says, grow your tribe and make your business more visible. Nigel says, stay connected. We are stronger together. Suleman says, don't focus on the quick wins. Think long term. Don't focus on the quick buck. And Lola says, even though the path is not fully defined and clear, stay positive. Put your clients first. We will survive. We will get through this. So thank you so much. Someone's putting up their hands like that. Let's do some clicking right now, people, for those words. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us today. It was a great session. I see some people putting their videos on and clapping. There's some great comments in the comments box as well. Obviously, we could literally have this going for the whole day. But we know that our speakers are busy planning their future business, staying in touch with their clients and their other vendors. And we hope you guys are staying busy with thinking about the future too. Like, stay in touch with your clients. Don't feel like this is all over. We are closer than ever to freedom once again. And we will see you back here next Saturday at 2 p.m. So Joseph has put all of the speakers' handles into the chat, and Laura has, Favour Catering Events, Matty Gono Events, and Grand Sapphire London on Instagram. Lola is actually not on Instagram. She is only on LinkedIn. So you can connect with her on LinkedIn for those that use LinkedIn. Next Saturday, we have 4 amazing speakers back here at 2 o'clock, and the link will be on the EVN bio on Instagram by this evening, and we'll also send you guys a mail out once again. But next week we have Wara Manola, wedding planner. We have Adebayo Youssef, Godson photography photographer. We have Folly Fresh MC, and we have my fiance Mary Yemi from Event Decor Hire, who does decor and styling and production for weddings and other events. So, guys, we'll see you back here next Saturday at 2 o'clock. Thank you very, 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 very much to all of our speakers for today. It was such an insightful, uplifting and positive session. And we're going to actually leave you because, you know, it was a little bit upside down at the beginning. So we didn't get a chance to show Matty's video, but coronavirus has turned us all upside down anyway. So it doesn't matter. So we're going to leave you actually with Matty's video right here so you can see a bit more of what she does. And we'll see you guys back here on Zoom next Saturday at 2 p.m. Thank you so, so much. And anyone that wants to connect with each other, put all of your details, your email addresses, your Instagram profiles into the comments box. Thank you. And this was done at Sapphire, everyone that's still watching. Amazing, amazing, amazing. We can't wait till we can get back out there and do some of that. It was, you know, it's really inspiring, Matty. Well done to you. Well done, Nigel. Well done, Suleman. Well done, Lola. We'll see you back out there in event land very, very, very soon. Take care. Thank you. And thanks to everyone that asked questions. And thanks to Lisa as well. Lisa Black, I've been seeing you throughout the whole conversation. Thanks for your energy. Very uplifting too. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Okay, guys. Thank you very much. Speak soon.
Bye-bye.